What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to another action-packed edition of CPA Reviewed, the official podcast of Another71.com. As always, I'm your humble host, Jeff Elliott, a licensed CPA in the state of Kansas, by the grace of God and to the chagrin of many. Happy Friday to you. Today is Friday, October 28th, 2016. We haven't done a show in a while. That's my fault, my bad. But I will make a concerted effort to make them weekly. So here we go. On today's show, we are going to answer 10 questions. We're going to be quick, but not hurry. Starting with Muhammad. Muhammad says, first of all, lots of love and hugs your way. I passed far in my first attempt, studying after 15 years and graduating from a foreign country, using other books and your MCQs and audio. I just got your Ninja MCQ. There is a lot of business material, which is about 20%. What do you recommend I focus on a month out from my exam? First of all, the business law. So business law, ethics, and professional responsibilities account for like 30 to 40%. So I think it's closer to 40%. On your exam, it will seem like every other question is a business law-ish question, or every other question is a non-tax question. So while it's tempting, so you have to know so many things about tax: individual tax, partnership tax, C Corp, S Corp, estates, trusts, all that good stuff. There's a lot to know about tax. But if you sleep on business law and professional responsibilities and ethics and stuff like that, you will fail regulation. So make sure that you put just as much effort into the non-tax areas as the tax areas. And as far as being a month out from your exam, so there's a lot of material to get through. You are going to have to budget your time. Follow the Ninja framework. If you're a month out and you're just starting, and if I recommend 7 to 8 weeks for regulation, and you have a month, whatever you would normally plan to do with 8 weeks of adequate prep time, you're going to have to condense that into 4 weeks. Basically, you're doing double time. So maybe not study 20 hours a week, or instead of 20 hours a week, maybe you're studying like 25 to 30 hours a week. So that might be easier said than done, but you're definitely going to have to budget your time. Stella writes in, I have some questions for you. Being that I am an older than average exam taker, I need to get this done for my career. Plus I have a family and I work full time. Nothing new. Do you provide some sort of guarantee like other courses that if I do all of the multiple choice or watch all the videos, etc., and don't pass, and I get continued support, do I get continued support or updated materials? Yes, all Ninja materials come with free updates until you pass. Some of the items have a clock like the MCQs or the videos, but the renewal for those is affordable. We just have to have a clock on there. Can't offer unlimited access just due to server. We want the server to be fast for everyone. So, but things like books and audios and notes, those all come with free updates until you pass, and we try to make everything that has a clock as affordable as possible. Second question, will the materials be updated for the new 2017 exam format? Yes, conceptually the exam is not changing. So some of the topics are moving around just a little bit, and on the exam, for the most part, there will be fewer multiple choice questions and more simulations. There will be about a 50-50 weight for the MCQs and the simulations, except for BEC, which is about 35% simulation. So BEC right now doesn't have simulations, and beginning April 1st, 2017, it will have simulations. But from a technology perspective, so you as the candidate studying, you will not notice a difference. So you will need to still study multiple choice questions. You will still need to study simulations. How the exam grades them, that won't affect you in your study prep. So they are going to start to test higher order skills, so like evaluation and analysis. You still need to know the material. So whatever higher order skill you are studying, like, you have to know the material, how the AICPA grades it, let them worry about it. Just know the material. You need to know the multiple choice questions from a conceptual level. You need to know the simulations from a conceptual level. And in your study, your user experience, studying for the exam using your software, that won't change. The big change happens in 2018 from a user perspective and a user interface perspective. So let me summarize that. For 2017, both Q1 exams and Q2 and beyond, which is when the big change happens, you as the candidate, things don't really change that much. The biggest thing that you'll notice on exam day is you will have fewer multiple choice questions, more simulations, and you have a break that doesn't count against your time. Other than that, it's not that big of a deal. So don't let some of that fear marketing out there. And I might be guilty of that myself. I put out a video that said the world was going to end and Armageddon was happening. So anyway, I hope that helps. And final question, what happens if I buy the whole bundle in 2016? If you're a Ninja customer, you get free updates until you pass. And from a technology standpoint, Ninja MCQ will still be good to go in 2017. Marcus writes in, first of all, thank you for the website and being an innovator in the CPA exam world. I have passed all 4 parts of the exam, but unfortunately I lost credit on BEC due to my time lapse. Currently I'm studying to take it, but I feel a little lost with how to prepare and how to know when I'm ready to pass the exam. I have until November 30th before I lose credit on FAR, which I'm desperately hoping not to lose. I wanted to ask your advice on a foolproof method of being prepared and passing BEC before I lose more credits. I'm feeling very worried and anxious. Please help. Okay, first of all, losing a credit is not the end of the world. It's not fun, but I can attest that it's not the end of the world. I lost my FAR credit due to back-to-back 74s on regulation. And I thought my life as I knew it was over. Turns out it wasn't. And I repassed FAR on my next try. A foolproof plan to pass BEC. Well, you said that you passed all 4 parts of the exam, but it sounds like you had a timing issue and lost credit. So it sounds like you know how to pass BEC. So the biggest mistake, Marcus, that I could see you making is thinking, okay, I've already passed this before, so I need just to go over this, and this, go back in and take the exam. No. You need to study as if you've never taken the exam before. And take no section for granted, and don't cut any corners. And I highly recommend the Ninja framework for doing that. It's both efficient and effective. Jesse writes in, I'm emailing you in regards to my troubles with the FAR section. I made a 74 on my first attempt and a 73 on my second. I'm down to one last shot before I start losing parts. My diagnostic performance report shows I was comparable in 4 categories and stronger in 1 than those who had passed. The 2 sections that I was weaker in were the specific transactions and events and the simulations. Any pointers or tips on making this 3rd time a charm? Well, I did not remember on the CSO what the specific transactions and events were for FAR, so I looked it up. And specific transactions, events, and disclosures, 27 to 33% of your exam, so about 30% of your exam. That's major. They include accounting changes, business combinations, consolidations, earnings per share, going concern, derivatives, foreign currency transactions, impairment, leases, segment reporting, software costs. So interim financial reporting. So some pretty heavy topics. And so it sounds like you did well on everything and you need some help in this area. If you have Ninja MCQ, you can drill down into section 3. So Ninja MCQ, you can go right to section 3 and cover all of this and hit it really hard. So what I would do is I would start over from scratch. So So you scored a 74 and a 73. A huge mistake that some people make on a 74 or 73 is that they think I'm 2 or 1 quote points away from the exam. No, because that exam was a long time ago. If you walked into the exam today, you might score a 65. You are not exam ready right now for those other parts that you were strong in. So you need to redo your entire study prep. And you really need to hit this section 3 hard, and on the other areas, don't cut any corners. Robert says, I have my regulation exam in 3 weeks and I've been studying for 3 weeks already. I feel pretty confident with topics in taxation. With 3 weeks left, how should I focus my time on the business law material? How much time should I spend on this area? Should I focus more on Sims for taxation instead? No. If you skip business law, if you cut corners in business law, you're going to fail regulation. Agency law, sales law, commercial paper, all that stuff, extremely boring, and cumulatively, it all adds up to being really important on your exam. So make sure that you respect business law as much as you respect and fear tax. Gladys says, hi, Jeff. I'm reconsidering giving this CPA process another shot. I passed audit back in 2013, but I lost it in 2014. I decided to take a break and concentrate on my personal life. I'm hearing now that the exam is about to change again in 2017 and brought my interest back to try again. Now, I have 2013 material and would like to know if I can rely on it. I lost my job 2 weeks ago. I like to be conservative if I don't have to buy new material. Normally, like if you have 2015 exam material, I would say it's not a best practice, but you can probably piece together some updates. I mean, the exam process itself is expensive, so taking an exam is $200 to $300, and you can go you can go super cheap on material and use 2013 materials, but I think it's highly risky, and I think there are plenty of affordable options out there, and there are people who pass, like in the forum. If you look up Moniker NC in the forum, she passed using, and I know it's a she because I've communicated with her before. Excuse me. She passed using only Ninja Book and Ninja MCQ. So that's about $100-ish investment. And that is the minimum that I would do. So I would not use your 2013 material. It's starting to get colder outside. It would make excellent firewood kindling. Smart aleck answer aside, so you're studying full time, and it's late October now, so you have November and first 10 days of December. You can probably fit 2 exams in if you like really hit it hard, and then January, February, first 10 days of March, you can fit the other 2 exams in and get it done before April 2017 exams, if that's what you really fear. The biggest thing I would do is make sure that you get BEC out of the way, because BEC is adding simulations in April 2017. The rest of the exams, the changes aren't that big. So, but yes, make sure that you use updated materials. George writes in, I can't pass the online open book ethics exam. Do you have practice materials that will help me prepare? My answer is no. And the online open book ethics exam. So I distinctly remember studying, or I spent like a good chunk of my day during Thanksgiving break. I think I literally spent Good Friday taking my ethics exam. Yeah, it's open book, but that doesn't mean it's easy, because you submit your answers and it says like, or I don't remember what it says, but you're at 87%. Well, if your state is like mine, I had to have, because I used the AICPA ethics exam for my state, I had to have a 90. I'm like, okay. So you have to go through each question one by one and like change one or two answers and then hit submit again and pray that it's right, because then you have to like go through this pain in the butt process to like submit it via snail mail and all that. And I don't know if it's changed since then, but my guess is that it hasn't. So it just takes time, George. You're going to have to go through it meticulously, and it's open book. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that it's a pain in the butt. It takes a lot of time, but you can do it. So, darn fruit flies. Sanjeev says, please kindly tell me how many hours of lecture is included in the Regulation Ninja audio course. Does it cover all of the chapters, including bankruptcy? Is the delivery done via email? Yes, it is done via email, or I can send you a Dropbox link if needed. Yes, it covers bankruptcy. And I couldn't remember, so I looked it up. I cover bankruptcy in 14 minutes. So, and some of the other CPA review course instructors who may or may not listen to my podcast, I'm guessing they don't. They have better things to do. But if they were listening, if they heard that I covered bankruptcy in 14 minutes, it caused them to faint. It's a high-level overview, because anyone who crams a bunch of information, like reads from a book and barfs a bunch of information into an audio course, is doing you a disservice, because that just means that they don't know anything about auditory learning and that they don't listen to audiobooks or podcasts themselves. I happen to be a podcast and an audiobook junkie, and so I know what I can and cannot retain while I'm listening, especially listening to technical material. So for the Ninja Audio, I opted to put less information, slow it down, repeat it, and the information that's in there, it's going to stick on exam day, versus like barfing 15 hours of regulation material that is going to be a chore to listen to. You're going to stop after an hour because it's horribly boring, even more boring than it could be actually. And so I cover regulation in 4.5 hours. That's 2.5 hours for tax, 2 hours for business law, and this is turned into a sales pitch, with the intent that you can listen to it over and over and over again. I don't cover everything in C Corps, but what I do cover, hopefully it will stick, and you will remember it on exam day, especially some of my stupid examples that are extremely cheesy and usually involve 90s rap groups. That stuff, like, people tell me, hey, that was really dumb and really cheesy, but it worked. Thank you. So, regulation's 4.5 hours. FAR is 3 hours. Imagine FAR in 3 hours. Like, that's inconceivable. So, I don't know what that was. BEC is 2.5 hours. Auditing is 2.5 hours. I think that's Princess Bride. So, all right. And you will not get Princess Bride quotes in any other podcast, because they are much more professional than me. Alex writes in, I'm studying for FAR, my first exam. My exam is November 21st. Is that right? October, November? Yeah, okay. So November was a dead month. It's not. Okay. And I'm currently on F6 in Becker. I want to utilize Ninja MCQ to be fully prepared to pass the exam, as I've heard great things. I want to give myself the best opportunity to pass. I've already purchased the Ninja Audio, and it is great. Thank you. I didn't even have to pay you to say that. How have people supplemented Becker and Ninja MCQ? Should I wait until my 2-week final review to do Ninja MCQ, or start doing them throughout, even if I haven't gone through the material? Okay. If you want to use Ninja MCQ with any course like Becker or Roger or anyone, there's two ways. There are two ways that you can do it. You can substitute Ninja MCQ for their multiple choice product, and I often recommend doing that if this is a retake. If this is the first time taking your exam, which I think it says it is, yes, I would use Becker or whoever's questions first. Then use Ninja MCQ as your 2-week review. If this is a retake, then sub in Ninja MCQ for the MCQ platform that you have with your core study materials. And that's what I would do. And I would follow the Ninja framework, which means that you will have gotten through all of the material first and taken notes over all of the material first before you jump into the MCQs. If your course assigns you multiple choice questions after each lecture, ignore that. Unless you work questions during the lecture, that's fine. Because if you do the homework questions for chapter 1 after the chapter 1 video, guess what? In 7 to 8 weeks later, you are going to redo those questions because you are going to forget them. It is an inefficient use of your time. Okay? You have a finite amount of study time, and you are wasting your study time doing questions after each chapter, period, end of story. I hope that's helpful. Final question. Kathleen says, hello, this is my first time using Ninja and am studying for regulation. I currently have a trending score of 98%, but an average score of 76%. Do you think I'm on the right track towards passing regulation? Is the average score not as reliable because in the beginning I was answering the questions not very well, but now I'm getting them all mostly correct? I can't seem to increase my average score, only my trending score. Okay, the average score in Ninja MCQ is like since the beginning of time that you started studying. The trending score takes into account the weight of the material, and it takes into account your more recent sessions. So 98% trending score with a 76% average score. Usually what that means, okay, so one of two things are happening. Either you really, really, really know the material, and so you're just acing it, which is a possibility, or you've done so many questions, like you've done over 2,000 questions, and you're starting to remember the answers, which is dangerous. If your average score, but your average score is still passing, which is a good sign. Oftentimes I'll see like an average score of like 65 and a trending score of like 100, and people fail and they don't know what's going on. It's because they didn't know the material and they started to memorize the answers. So I want to caution you, make sure that you're not memorizing the answers, but the fact that your average score is still passing, you're headed in the right direction, I think. And one thing that you could do is hit the reset button in Ninja MCQ and see how you're doing, see how your trending score, like if your average and your trending score are like in the 80s or something, I think you're good to go. All right. I hope this has been helpful. If you want to submit a question, go to another71.com and you'll see at the top, Ask Jeff. Click on that and submit your question, and it will appear in a future edition of the podcast. I am way, way, way behind on questions because I said that I would answer questions, and then I got bogged down in an acquisition. So if you don't know, I recently purchased the BISC materials from Thomson Reuters. So that was a huge undertaking. And what does that mean for you? Nothing. But it's my excuse. It's my excuse for not having time for the podcast or the mental energy to do it. But I'm back, and so here we are. So I want to do it weekly, if not a couple times a week. So submit your questions. Go to another71.com, click Ask Jeff, and I will try to answer it in a future edition of the podcast. Woo! Be good, everyone. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.